Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show.
Alright everybody, it's Paul Neeson with the Raw Life Health Show. I'm here at Little Nowhere and I'm back home from my little book tour here. And I'm in my garden eating some good food, and we got a special guest today, the person that helped us build the garden. John, he's back and he's going to give us an update on our garden. And we're going to go over what has grown and what has happened, and then we're going to go over what we plan to do in the future. But as you can see, the garden's been supplying us with a lot of greens, and we've really been enjoying it. And Noah's been growing a lot from it. She just had some green food herself. So we're really having a great time at the garden, everybody. And John's going to come here and talk about what he just came in from California. So John's going to talk about what he suggests for the garden and everything else. So here goes John Kohler.
All right, so this is John Kohler, growingyourgreens.com. I have a big gardening YouTube channel. I helped Paul put in his garden. I'm really glad he has a garden here, and we're going to give you a quick update on what's been happening here. So basically what happened was we planted the garden, and from the time I planted, I think it was about October, and you can see everything that's grown amazingly. We are here in Florida, so the seasons are a little bit backwards from most of the U.S. Most people now are actually just planting their tomatoes now in April, but here in Florida, we're harvesting tomatoes. So now we have ripe tomatoes over here, so harvesting my own tomatoes that I planted from last year. That's a good tomato. Wow. Nothing like homegrown tomatoes. So I want to go over some of the things that worked and some of the things that didn't work. And I'm no expert gardener in Florida, I mean, I've been gardening in California for a while, so I kind of know what works there. But on the tomatoes, definitely one side did better than the other side. So I noticed this side here, all the plants have a lot more tomatoes on them. I think it gets a lot more sun than against that fence. Whenever you're planting your garden, it's really important to choose a south-facing location. That side's going to get more sun. Here at Paul's place, he has a patio, and we just decided this is where we're going to do it, and let's see what works. So what we've learned from this is that, definitely next time we're going to plant all the tomatoes on this side that gets more sun. And over in that side, that's good. Even though it doesn't get that much sun, we're going to plant things that like more shade, or that are more shade tolerant, that don't need as much sun to, give a real good production. Like some of the greens would still do fairly well, or herbs and other things would go really well in the shaded spots. Something that did really well, we planted lettuce over here, and that went to seed really quick and bolted, so it didn't provide so much food. But the cool thing is the seeds dropped, and look, now we didn't even plant these. The seeds dropped, and now they're coming up brand new. That you see all these little baby lettuce plants over here. That's really fun. The Georgia collards, of course, worked really well, and I'm glad we did the majority of those, because now we have plentiful salads, greens for juicing. I was really glad to get in last night, and I picked a salad of collard leaves. So delicious. So they're doing really good. Let's see, some of the herbs did pretty good too over here. The stevia's growing really well, doing really good. The culantro, which is like cilantro, that's doing really well too. The mint is doing good over there in the shade. Let's see, the peppers maybe didn't do so well. And, I'm not an expert on growing eggplants because I don't like eggplants. But the eggplants grew amazingly, but they didn't put on any fruit, so I'm not exactly sure why. Let's see, if it was up to me, I would plant a lot more of these. This is called a perennial vegetable. This is called katuk. And the katuk, you could literally just pick leaves, and Paul says they taste like peanut butter. I wouldn't say peanut butter, but they're definitely a good tasting green. So now we have a lot of space to work with here. That's, things have bolted. We could trim it back, and there's empty spots and a lot of spots. So now that it's springtime, we're going to start replanting new crops. And, you got to check what's good for your weather conditions. In your part of the country. Most parts of the country now it's springtime and you're ready to plant tomatoes and zucchini and cucumbers and pretty much most everything. So, but here in Florida it's going to get really hot during the summertime, so we're going to have to maybe go for some more tropical greens like Malabar spinach and maybe some other things that are going to tolerate the heat a lot better. So we're going to go to some nurseries and check that out. So that's pretty much the garden update. And Paul, hey, I had another question for you, man. Yeah. Why did you decide to plant a garden? And, have you enjoyed your garden? And would you do it again?
Well, it was a lot of work because we had already put in a patio. We took out all the dirt and put in a patio with pavers, and it was a lot of time and money. But I knew, first of all, when I saw yours, I mean, it was something I always wanted, but your whole lawn is like a big garden. But for me, you know, getting the highest quality produce as possible is the most wisest way and the most economical way to eat. And the food in the stores today, even if you go to Whole Foods, the food there isn't just as good as it claims to be, even if it's organic. So I wanted to have food not only that's growing myself that I can eat for free, but I also wanted good soil to come up from the food. And I've always been interested, even when I lived in New York, I composted my fruits and vegetables and brought them to a local garden. And I saw how well the flowers and the produce there grew. So when I got a house, I started composting right away, but I had nothing really to do with the compost until we got this garden here. So what we plan on doing is, the next season is, when we replant, we're going to use the compost that we've been making from our scraps and our waste in our house. It's only waste if you call it waste, but now it's not going to waste, this is going into our garden. And we're replenishing the soil, but everything I do is from a biblical standpoint, and I believe in what the Bible says. And the Bible says that grass is good to eat it, not smoke it. It says grass is good. And the Bible, it also says, in Jeremiah, it says, plant gardens and eat the foods that they produce. The majority of our diet, as I always say, should be the fresh fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds, but we can't get it that way, so we have to grow it ourselves so we can get it the way it should be gotten. So that's why I decided to do this, and it goes on and on in the scriptures talking about how we're supposed to take care of our temples, and the best way to do that is eat the foods that we were designed to eat and can digest as easy as possible, and that would be these vegetables right here. I also, this is very interesting, I did a lot of research on people that have been living a long time. Anyone who's a fan of my show knows I had Bernardo, who's 108 years old, as a guest several times on my show. But we could see that the people around the world that have been living the longest, that have centenarians for the longest, the communities, the majority of their diet was vegetables. And they had a small amount of fresh fruit, mostly vegetables, and then they would have a small amount of animal products, some fermented milk or fermented yogurt or something like that. It's opposite in our country. In our country, the majority of the diet is animal products, high amount of sugar, fruits, and small amount of vegetables. Well, our country's getting lower and lower on the rate of longevity out there. So I want to follow an example of what's working. And this garden is what's working. So we love it, and Noah loves to pull the tomatoes, and it's just great. So everybody, thank you, John, for coming back. We'll give you another update on the garden soon, and I highly recommend you go to his website. It'sokraw.com, and check it out, because he has some good videos on how you can make your own home garden. And the great thing about this is, when we're not here, we don't need to do anything because it waters itself. It's very simple to put in an automatic timer, and I definitely recommend growing your own food for so many different reasons. So you can take our small space as an example. You don't need a lot of space to eat healthy. All right, everybody, this is Paul Neeson with John Kohler and the Raw Life Health Show, saying have a great day and have a great raw life.
Good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show. Raw Life, brighten up your life.